So let me bring in Fred Weil into this to understand: is Europe actually feeling left out in a way? Europe and Ukraine and some countries in Europe, because America is engaging with Russia, America is also engaging at some levels with China, America is also engaging with India, and they're trying to find a solution. President Putin said so himself. When a question was asked, when India Today asked him a question about what he thought of President Trump and his efforts. So 30 minutes from now, you'll hear his answer. But Fred, your take: is Europe increasingly getting isolated?
Well, in this case, regarding the Ukraine war, it's been clearly sidelined. We've watched this process over recent weeks, and the Europeans did try to insert themselves into Trump's new peace offensive. They produced at least 3 drafts of what they deemed to be a peace settlement plan. And each one of them contains so many spoilers, like points that are absolutely impossible to be accepted in Moscow. And so you saw this very clearly in the talks that occurred on Monday in the Kremlin, with Trump's 2 emissaries talking with Putin for 5 hours. They were supposed to fly on to Brussels, where they would meet with Vladimir Zelensky and Europeans, and they chose not to. They just got on the plane and flew back to Washington. So there is absolutely no doubt that the Americans have given up on Europe as an interlocutor in this process. And that whatever final settlement is going to be made, and we must hope it will be, it's going to be Putin, Trump, and Zelensky sorting it out. The Europeans are on the sidelines. They can produce as many drafts and make as many magical incantations about how things should be as they want. I think they're going to be ignored. And it is possible. I think it's very likely. I feel optimistic for the first time in a long time that this process can lead to the necessary compromises that will bring this war to an end. And the main
So
reason is that the Americans are dangling various incentives to Putin that he wants. That is normalization of relations with the United States, trade and business cooperation with the United States. Again, Europe's interests aren't being included in that in any way.
But on that very important aspect, President Putin doesn't want to let go of any territory, and 27 minutes to go for that big India Today World Exclusive. But Seema Sirohi, across the Atlantic, is that how you view it in the United States of America? Europe increasingly getting sidelined. President Trump, President Putin will directly engage with President Zelensky and try and find a solution? Or President Zelensky will always have the support of at least some European leaders, Germany, France, United Kingdom, and, this war will become endless?
Well, I agree with Fred that Europe has kind of been sidelined. They have made big promises and they have egged on Zelensky to keep fighting, but they know that they have limitations of their own. Now, President Trump is dealing directly with the Russians. So, Europe has actually a lot of stake in this whole thing, but no power to sort of enforce what it wants. Zelensky has also started to say he's sort of, modified his position to wanting a dignified peace. He's willing to make compromises. Now, the question is how long it takes for both sides to come together. But it's true that the US is kind of washing its hands off this war. If this time it doesn't work, people are saying over here in Washington that President Trump is just going to give up on this. I'm not sure. I'm sure that Putin realizes that. So he will also make moves that sort of push towards peace, if it means
Okay.
compromises on his side. Um, so let's see how it unfolds. But it's a situation is very unpredictable. But
indeed is. But from his
Europeans are
answers,
feeling.
yes, from his answers 25 minutes from now, you will get a fair idea of which direction he wants to move forward in. We'll see if more emerges from that after his interaction with Prime Minister Narendra Modi over dinner tonight and during the dialogue tomorrow. Sandeep, are we to then believe that India-Russia relationship and India-US relationship are being held hostage by the Russia-Ukraine conflict? We can't move forward in either direction because it will invite more sanctions if we were to move closer to Russia. And we cannot trust the Americans given those sanctions that we don't move forward in that direction much either.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. And, you know, if you look at it in the 21st century, especially post-Pokhran, India-Russia, India-US ties had been on the mend, and we got a strategic partnership going with the United States. And we have never been asked to choose between the West or Russia in the way that we've been asked to do now. And this is a big, big problem for India and its strategic autonomy when it comes to being asked to choose between the Russian Federation or the United States. And we have chosen this path of strategic autonomy. And there's no doubt about the fact that it is the Russia-Ukraine war that has imposed the maximum pressure on our relationships, both with the Russian Federation as well as the United States. Because, Gaurav, while you're talking about the arms that we're getting from Russia, these come with a cost of possible sanctions that the United States could impose, exactly like we saw a couple of years back. And let's not kid ourselves, Gaurav, in 2025, the sanctions are not going to be of the kind of CAATSA that we saw a few years back, which we could evade. Because now the United States will try to pressure us, will try to pressure Russia by whatever means possible. And we've seen the kind of language, we've seen the kind of actions that the United States has embarked upon with these kind of tariffs, unprecedented tariffs that they've imposed on India. So everything is on the table, literally, Gaurav. And this is something that this all can be traced down to the Russia-Ukraine war and the pressure the West wants to bring on Russia.